Hi KRB teachers, welcome to the third webinar in the Maximize webinar series, Being the Best Version of Yourself. Today we are looking at looking after number one, so you, and hopefully you'll come away with some practical self-care strategies to look after yourself. An initial trigger warning that mental illness will come up today. If you do find this harmful, distressing or traumatic, please feel free to stop the session at any time and also reach out to me if you'd like for support. A reminder of the overall webinar series, and today we are looking at the third and final webinar in the module focusing on you yourself. So starting with an introduction, what are we learning about today? Ideally, we're hoping to upskill you with some useful and evidence-based personal strategies for your own mental health and well-being. We'll start with an overview of self-care, then we'll look at three different parts: physical well-being and how you can be physically well. Secondly, mental well-being and how you can be mentally well. And thirdly and finally, emotional well-being and how you can be emotionally well. If you haven't already done so, this is the final opportunity to please give me some feedback as to where your abilities are at now and any other thoughts or questions that you may have. Can you please scan the QR code and answer I think it's about 3 to 5 questions. I'll just give you 20 seconds. Thank you for doing that. So starting with self-care. What is self-care? Well, it's been defined as the behaviours that nurture and maintain our mental, emotional and physical health. Self-care is key to improving mood, reducing stress and preventing burnout. So from that, it's about firstly developing your own sense of self-awareness of your thoughts and feelings. It's about really tuning in and listening to your body, responding to those needs, in adopting daily habits which can support that, and then ultimately about promoting your overall health and happiness. Just a note that self-care is not selfish. It's not self-indulgent. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It also won't happen just necessarily overnight, and it's not a short-term solution. And finally, it's not just for the Gen Zs and now the current generation, the alphas only. Why is it ultimately important? Well, besides the obvious reasons that it's going to help you personally, but also professionally, it will enhance your emotional resilience, improves your mental health and well-being, helps to prevent burnout, which of course is very common in the teaching profession, promotes your own work-life balance, prevents compassion fatigue, which is of course very common again in the teaching profession, which is the idea that after time you have a fatigue and a lessened ability to give that constant compassion and nurturing to students. It also can help increase your own job satisfaction, and finally sets a positive example for students. So today we're looking at 3 elements of self-care: physical, so looking after your body; mental, looking after your mind; and finally emotional, and looking after your feelings. Starting with physical well-being. So physical well-being is really caring for and respecting your body, advocating for it and listening to it. It's about adopting conscious lifestyle choices. It's about potentially enhancing your fitness. It's also not pushing your body until it's totally fatigued and burnt out. It's not placing undue physical strain on your body, and it's ultimately to also help to prevent illness and injury from coming. Neglecting physical well-being is something that we've probably all done before. Some examples here might be that you may have skipped lunch because a student needed your help. You may have stayed up late finishing off marking papers. You could have also been pushed back to your fitness goals and, in the holidays or over when the school term's finished. How do we then care for our physical well-being? If we care for it, really will enhance your energy and motivation for getting through the school day. It'll increase your stress tolerance and cognitive agility, and it will also boost your students' interest and learning engagement and their anxiety. So how can you be physically well? There's many different things that you could do, and like I said, they didn't have to be, and they don't have to be grand, life-changing gestures. They will be about small habits that can happen every day and then become a pattern over time. So it's something as simple as keeping water on your desk to ensure you're hydrated. You might be doing 5 minutes of stretching in the morning. It might be avoiding the caffeine at 4 o'clock at night to help ensure you're sleeping. It could be trying to do 30 minutes of something relaxing before bed. It's about keeping a healthy, balanced diet, potentially going for a walk at lunchtime, exercising, trying out a new sport, and as I mentioned, getting at least 8 hours of sleep. I want to show you one of the techniques on Maximinds, which is called forest bathing, which also helps for not only your physical, but also your mindfulness and ability to develop mental well-being.
Forest bathing is a Japanese term and is all about immersing yourself in nature, surrounding yourself by trees and greenery. When you go for a walk in the woods or any natural setting, engage your senses. Notice what you can see, what you can touch, what you can smell, what you can taste, and what you can hear. By doing this, you're not only staying present in the moment, but also connecting with reality. These two elements are essential for your mental well-being. So next time you're feeling down, take the time out of your day to be in nature, take a deep breath, and embrace the therapeutic power of the natural world.
So if you wouldn't mind just getting out your worksheet now, there is a space to write down even one habit that you will choose to adopt to look after your own physical well-being. They may have been things that we've just covered now. They may be something else that you've been meaning to try, but actually writing it down will help you to stay accountable. So I'll just give you a moment to do that. Moving on to mental well-being. Mental well-being is, of course, looking after your mind. So this is about building resilience, strength, and recovery. It's about coping with adversity and unexpected hurdles. Mental well-being is about learning and also working well. It can be about contributing to the community, and it's always about maintaining healthy thoughts and mindsets. Just before we look into how to do this, these are some of the warning signs that we have covered previously when we're looking at students, but also just wanting to remind you here of these are some of the signs to look out for, which of course are not mental well-being. So it might be difficulty performing familiar tasks, a loss of interest in activities, a drastic shift in your emotions, sleep or appetite changes, lack of enthusiasm, excessive nervousness or worry, feeling disconnected from what's around you, difficulties concentrating, and perhaps an increased sensitivity. If you do notice any of these warning signs, I would strongly suggest you reaching out to me as a psychologist, which is completely confidential, or finding someone that you can speak to in the mental health care space. In the meantime, how can we be mentally well? There are so many ways to nurture our mental health. Some of them are, of course, about questioning our own negative thoughts that may appear and occur in our minds. It can be taking some time to be alone to reflect and to celebrate your successes and achievements. It's recognizing that you're not alone. Mental illness is on the rise. It is unfortunately increasingly very common and very common in teachers. So seeking that external support is absolutely crucial. It can be turning off your mobile phone outside of work hours, turning off those notifications with work emails, for instance. Meditation, I've said this before, but if you do nothing else, mindfulness and meditation is probably the single best strategy from my perspective and from previous experience as being a psychologist in helping to develop mental health. It is a skill that happens and develops over time and practice, and this is available also on Maximinds. Developing mindfulness as part of that, and of course, practicing daily gratitude. These tools and more are all online that you can access, and I do encourage you to access that free subscription to look at specific tools and techniques and strategies for different types of feelings that you may be having. On that last one, accepting what you cannot control and focus on what you can control is a very empowering tool, which we do use a lot as psychologists. And I just want to show you what that looks like and how you can incorporate that in your daily habit, perhaps.
Mental well-being is about recognizing what's in your control so that you can make empowered decisions and take action. We can visualize this by drawing a circle and listing the things you can control inside it. Now focus your energy on what's inside the circle. You'll feel the greatest sense of purpose and autonomy. Now outside the circle, jot down a couple things that you can't control. And for the things outside your control, it's important to practice radical acceptance. This simple exercise helps promote mental well-being by giving you a clearer perspective on where to direct your efforts. Mental well-being.
If you can again, please bring out your worksheet that goes along with this webinar. There are a few examples of mental well-being strategies and habits that you can start thinking about there on the page. But if you can also reflect on what we've just covered, you may have already thought of something that you would like to do to help support your healthy mindset. If you can write just even one habit down that you will try to adopt to look after your mental well-being. I'll just give you a few minutes. And finally, emotional well-being. And of course, emotional well-being is looking after our feelings and emotions. It is also about accepting and managing painful or uncomfortable feelings, recognizing that we all do have those sorts of more negative feelings and emotions, but about understanding that that's normal and accepting that they will happen and occur in everyone. Being aware of and understanding of those emotions, where they're coming from, for instance, what might be causing them, how can you help manage them? It's about also simply noticing and reflecting on all emotions, but also particularly those positive moods and feelings, and trying to replicate situations or triggers which may enhance those emotional well-being and positive thoughts and feelings. It's also about expressing your emotional needs and reaching out to someone for support if you do need them. And finally, developing constructive reactions to setbacks. So overcoming that adversity. Just thinking about what things may negatively affect your emotions. A good starting point is to think about what would be those instances or triggers which does make you feel good or not so good. Taking a moment just to think about what they may be, when they may occur, who's there, what's happening. So how can you be emotionally well? Many things, but some immediate practical strategies. Taking slow, deep breaths when you're feeling anxious. One of the things I say often to clients as a psychologist is making sure you're taking long, deep breaths out. Rather than that fallacy that we've told, which is to take deep breaths, of course, breathing out will reduce the oxygen in your body and reduce your heart rate. That helps to calm down in those moments. It's doing grounding exercise to focus on the present. It's pausing and thinking about how you react. It's noticing those positive moods. It's about connecting with others, forgiving others and forgiving yourself. An interesting one, but forgiving others has more benefits scientifically for ourselves than, of course, it does for other people. So letting those grudges potentially that you might be holding go is not helping them. It's only to ever help yourself. Being kind to yourself, giving yourself more self-compassion, thinking about what advice you would give to someone else when if they were going through a tough time or having some challenges, trying to use that same advice that you would give to other people to use on yourself. being aware of your triggers, and of course, finally, rewarding and praising yourself. So, how to develop this emotional well-being, given it starts with that self-awareness, is of course by doing something as simple as journaling. There is a sample journal outline with some prompts on Maximinds if you'd like to have a look, but I would just play you a video and show you why this is good for your emotional well-being.
Journaling is a very powerful tool in helping us gain clarity. We can achieve this simply by grabbing a pen and paper and writing down our thoughts and feelings. Journaling allows us to objectively explore our inner world and declutter our minds. By putting our experiences into words, we develop self-awareness and gain clarity. Our thoughts and emotions become more tangible and less overwhelming. So when you're feeling confused, anxious, or simply need to process your day, take a few moments to journal. It's a valuable tool for self-reflection, problem solving, and promoting our mental well-being. Journaling.
And finally, if you can grab your worksheet again, please fill out one habit that you will adopt to look after your emotional well-being. They may, of course, be ones we've just covered. They may be there on the worksheet for you, or they may be something else that you've been meaning to or wanting to try and consider and try and bring into your own personal lives. So please take a moment to think about what you could commit to yourself. So to summarize today, hopefully we learnt that self-care should involve habits that look after your physical, your mental and emotional well-being to increase your overall health, happiness and resilience. Physical well-being at the crux is about caring for and respecting your body and ultimately listening to your body, getting enough sleep, responding to it if you're feeling fatigued, just really tuning in and listening to what it's needing. Mental well-being is the ability to cope with the adversity by maintaining healthy thoughts and mindsets. It's looking after and thinking about what is good for your mind, what nurtures you. And finally, emotional well-being is identifying, understanding, accepting, and managing our emotions. Accepting those ones that we can't necessarily control or that may be uncomfortable, and managing them in a constructive and productive way. Of course, some emergency contacts, if you need them, please do reach out if you need any of these contacts at all, or of course, I have availability to speak to you if you do need some extra support. Other resources, Maximinds is available for you. Using the promo code KRB 2024, you will get free access to Maximinds for the first cycle. Please do go on there and have a look at specific strategies, tools, articles that you will need depending on how you're feeling, whether you're stressed, anxious, down, lost or uncertain, they are available to you. So please use that as a resource, particularly given we're talking about self-care this week. And finally, here are my contact details. If you would like to reach out, please do so. I look forward to seeing you again next week.